Hello everyone, we're the Tindall team. My name is Carly Savignon. I am an architecture student at the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
My name is Chase Rogers. I'm an architecture student at Kansas State University.
My name is Iman Abdullah. I am a structural engineer at NC State.
My name is Robert Mazzilli. I'm a student at NJIT, a CIM major.
And our project is called the Franklinton Community Hub.
All right, so we started with a site visit that a lot of people have talked about, and we gathered a lot of the same information from that, and so I'm going to talk more about the local president that we chose to look into as well. We looked into the COSI Museum. We drew from this the precast panels and this curvilinear form, and how they use like very organic shapes to bring people in, and what that did in terms of using precast to like bring the community in and together. And we took inspiration from the way that they were able to use a simple formwork over and over again to still create a more like complex and less rigid form.
The Franklinton Community Hub is a center whose mission is to connect with and celebrate Franklinton's past, present, and future. This is an isometric drawing of the Franklinton Community Hub. Each circle you see from front to back represents Franklinton's present, future, and past. This water feature represents Franklinton's present, flooding with possibility and hope. It is situated so occupants who enter the site are immediately immersed in the experience of the hub. Devastating floods are a part of Franklinton's rich history. With this 3-droplet ripple design, the FCH reclaims a tumultuous relationship between Franklinton and water through aesthetics. These are 3 points of impact on the site, one representing present, one representing future, and one representing past. And that's how we got our form. This is the level of the basement. We have a 120-car parking garage. We decided to locate it in the basement because we didn't want to have any parking taking up space where we could have program and other engaging activities, and we also have a indoor pool located on that level. So this is the ground floor where everything's happening. On the right, at the bottom, we have Houseless Folks Hygiene Center. And then moving up from there, we have a basketball court, a playground, and there in the center, we have our water feature. Above that, we have indoor public space, as well as several fitness studios. And then moving to the left, we have our future moment, which is where the Franklinton offices are located, as well as educational spaces and a public library and a rose garden. And left from that is where our recreational spaces are located, as well as flexible spaces that also function as shelters, as well as a ballroom and more administrative offices. This is a second level plan, which shows that the recreational space has a track above it as well as a skylight, and the future moment has more educational classrooms at the top. And this is our roof plan, which again shows our form and our concept. Through these sections, you can see we wanted to keep it at a human scale so the buildings wouldn't be so intimidating or taking up too much space in the community and seeming more welcoming.
Structural system. Our structural system consists of columns, beams, shear walls, and slabs. So, sorry, again, more technical difficulty. So, we had the cross section for this part. This span was bigger span, so we had a double T slab for this part. And we had for the rest of the buildings, we had T slab. And as for the shear wall, that was the design for the shear wall. It's a composite wall that has an isolating part according to the ASCE Building Energy Code requirement for Ohio. It was 3 inches. And And this is how the wall look like in reality. And this is this is a detail for how the slab is carried by the shear wall. And this is a connection between the shear wall and the foundation. So our load pass for the gravity load was slab to beam to columns and shear walls to foundation. As how the load pass for the lateral system, it was shear walls to foundation, very straightforward. As for the load resisting system, so we counted for, like, putting consideration for Columbus, Ohio area, we found that wind is gonna be effective, and we counted for the wind, and we resisted the wind load by using by designing the roof and shear walls are strong enough to resist the wind load. As for the snow and rain, we we resisted the load coming from snow and load by having a very, like, a strong floor that can resist these types of loads. And as for the seismic, so for Columbus, for our site, the risk category is risk category B, which is not very big seismic area. However, we counted for this by having exterior shear walls for so all these spaces have exterior shear walls that can resist also the lateral load and the gravity load, and we also counted for the gravity loads. These are the factors that we incorporated or take care of in the design. First, sustainability. We took care of sustainability in our structural design by having high strength concrete that will reduce the amount of concrete needed for the project, which will consequently reduce the amount of carbon footprint. So our building will be sustainable. Second part is innovation. We implemented a technique used by splice sleeve, where they use these pieces in places where potential crack could happen, and these types of buildings, this technique reduces or control the cracks. So you can see here in the picture, after 100 days, they have a panel where they used these pieces and another panel where they didn't use it, and you can see the difference in controlling the cracks. We also made sure that spaces are wide enough to, like for the multi-purpose facility building, we made sure that the spaces are wide enough so that it has flexible usage, and we can have movable furniture that can change the purpose of the multi-purpose facility space. The third factor that we worked on and we counted for in our design is the collaboration. We worked very closely with the architectures and with project management engineers from the very beginning, the very first of the design, and this is because to make sure that our design meet all the requirements for functionality. Finally, safety. We counted for all loads that might be experienced in Columbus, Ohio. And also, since this is a precast building, so we don't have the risk of having this is a safe environment for people since this is a precast structure. So people are working, specimens are being casted and designed in the factory, so it's a very safe environment.
So one of the biggest conversations we had as a group was the panel considerations, and that's because of the architectural and structural ties between paneling and our design and what we want to accomplish structurally. We broke the panels down by going building to building and breaking each face down, we decided to go with 12-foot wide dimensions, and our tallest panel will be 60 feet tall, but half of that will be underground for the parking in the pool. So this still allows us to keep a very low profile structure that's spread across the site. It keeps it to a human scale, and we're going to be using acid etched, like grayish tan colored concrete. So it mimics the Kosai Museum in that way. We would have 2 main formworks that would be modified each time whenever you're pouring a different size panel. So we would have the curved form, which follows the same radius, so you can use that form over and over, and we would have the flat forms. And that allows us to keep in mind sustainability factors, including environmental sustainability, time efficiency, money, and all of these important factors that come into play when you're trying to actually erect the structure.
When a great structure comes, you need a great planning, or else the structure will never be completed. So the first thing, when awarded the bid, we would do the shop drawings. It would take about 2 weeks, and then we will get approval another 2 weeks. That's about a month right there. Altogether, it's going to take about a 7-month period. So we were going to do utilities because we don't want Franklinton to be underwater once again, which I'll show you a brief illustration of. Then we start with building A, pouring the wall panels and T's simultaneously together because we have 2 different forms. The wall panels are about 200 feet long, so we be able to pour multiple wall panels at one time. And this will go through until we come down to the cleanup, which will be getting rid of the lifters and making sure the site is perfectly good. This is an illustration of the utility plan. The parking garage will have E-inlets, so a thicker grate than the one under the pool, because I don't want people's toes to get stuck in when they're walking in. You know, the parking garage will hold the cars while the pool will not. And the manhole right there is a pumping station pumping water to the water feature. This is an illustration of our shipping equipment. Once the excavator is shipped, it will excavate the first foundation, and then it will move on to the pool, excavating the pool, and then moving on to the parking garage. And off the ramp out of that, it will leave the site, going to the excavation process. We will use a crawler crane coming to the first corner of the site, excavating. First of all, we're going to have the deliveries. So as panels come, one by one, we need every single panel before we can start even construction. And then we'll be able to erect the first building. We will use a base system to hold the walls, panels in place, and then we'll move on to the next building. After that, we'll move on to the third building. This we will use live loading because we will not be able to get into site anymore. So right off the truck, and we will be using a lot load. So right across the street, we'll be able to use the panels coming in, and then we will finish off. And that was our project. And Franklinton has a great way of going to the future, rippling into time for the positive, and you can't spell Columbus without us. And this shows, it invites everybody in, and we have about a minute and a half for questions if anybody would like to ask any.